Hey ladies, welcome to another StarCraft 2 game in Heart of the Swarm. Terran versus Protoss today. No Zerg in this replay. We have a match on Akilon Flats, and as you can see, starting to the top left is our Terran player. This is starting for Team Millennium. It's Dayshi, and starting to the bottom right we have in red the French player ToD. Both players actually are from France. So we have the Equipe Tricolore, we have L'aile Bleue, and let's see who of the two will be the victor in this game. It's going to be very interesting to see how they adjust to the new units, how they will implement Widow Mines, will implement maybe Tempest, Oracles, Mothership Cores, and for the Terran player, maybe even the Hellbats. So this could be a really exciting game. I can already tell you that it's quite a long game, so we have a lot of action going on in this match. And once again, I want to highlight, if you follow those players, if you actually are from France and you want to support them, make sure that you add them on Twitter. ToD's account is ToDSC2, and the Terran player, you can find him on Twitter, M_Dayshi. You can also, of course, follow myself at Khaldor on Twitter, and make sure that you also subscribe to the YouTube channel Khaldor TV. Going into this game, we have both players starting off with production structure. No one is going into Nexus first or into a command center first here on this two-player map. We have the barracks being built for Dayshi, and he's even blocking with the supply depot. So he's using this little trick where you use the SCV that is producing the barracks, you stop the production process of the barracks for a second, you place down the supply depot, and then you go back to continuing producing the barracks and finishing it. Therefore you block off completely. Your opponent already knows by that you didn't take a very early gas, that even if you take a gas it's a little bit more delayed because you had to invest the additional minerals into the supply depot, but you will completely deny him access into your main base. So in this case Dayshi takes the gas a little bit later, the refinery here as you can see, and ToD doesn't know that. ToD has no idea. His SCV, sorry, his probe of course, is completely blocked out, can't get into the main base, finds himself now in a situation where he has to gas a little bit. Did the Terran player take a command center after the barracks? Did he go into gas? He doesn't know. So he has to assume that there might be an attack coming, that there might be a little bit of aggression, and has to play it blind from here. Bottom right of the map, we have ToD also getting gas with the assimilator, of course, heading into the cybernetics core. He started things off with the gateway, going into the second gas right away. And for ToD, there are several strategies possible. He can now go into an expand, he can try to be a little bit more aggressive, but he needs to and guess what exactly is going on in his opponent's base. Against the Terran player you always want to start with your own expansion as well, because if the Terran builds a command center on the high ground and you decide to go into a very delayed natural, then suddenly you find yourself way behind in economy, and in the later stages of the game this can have quite a huge effect when you are a little bit delayed with this. To the left side of the map, ToD already with a pylon. Usually the pylon here is dedicated to just give some scouting information, meaning if there is like a play with a medevac, you will always see the medevac if it goes down that path, but of course you also have the option of using that as a warp in pylon at the front, or even trying the proxy side, which is very unlikely. ToD now moving up the ramp, sees the Marines, doesn't really see the command center, so he has no idea that Dayshi is actually getting a command center, but he assumes that with the bunker that he just scouted that there is going to be a natural expansion for the Terran player, who now also takes the second refinery, going into additional gas. We have him with the factory here already on the way, so he can start the starport right after this. ToD on the other hand, he went into his own nexus, is already building it at the natural expansion, and with the gas that we saw from him, he's going into the Mothership Core right away. Mothership Core is a great tool. It's very useful, especially with the photon overcharge, the Nexus cannon. You can do quite a lot. You can defend against drop play, you can defend against early aggression, and ToD is also lucky enough to just scout this SCV, take it down. And maybe lucky is the wrong word here, because he was actively searching for it. You could see the Stalker really trying to hunt down any type of scout that Dayshi would send out. He found it, and therefore he knows now, well, Dayshi does not really know what's going on. So if he wants to know, he has to sacrifice a scan, or he has to send a second scout in. ToD therefore with a good start into this game, adding the robotics facility, which will give him the option to get observers out here. Very important to not only scout what your opponent is doing, but also to be prepared to deal with Widow Mines, to deal with Banshees. And we have the first Widow Mines now in the game. Produced here with a factory, the reactor is already equipped, so a double Widow Mine production is no issue here for Dayshi. He wants to use the Widow Mines to be defensive, but he can then also use them to be a little bit more aggressive later on. We have him starting with his starport, not going into a Banshee play, but instead he is starting things off with a Raven here. Raven gives him a lot of utility, can use it as detection. A few Protoss players will try to go into an early Dark Templar build. This is something which is a little bit more viable right now because the gas costs have been reduced in Heart of the Swarm. So it's a little bit more accessible to go into a Dark Shrine play. So you want to have some detection on the map. And of course, the Raven can also be used later on with a point defense drone. And here we have something else that has been introduced with Heart of the Swarm. I'm of course not talking about the hallucination itself, but you don't have to research the upgrade anymore. If you have a sentry, the hallucination skill is immediately available to you, and ToD is using this very well, hallucinating a phoenix and trying to find out what exactly is going on. Being in the main base of his opponent, he realizes that there are additional production facilities now being produced. He sees the Widow Mines, he knows what's going on here. So ToD with a lot of scouting information early on in this game, even positioning the Zealot right over here. He wants to know when the Terran player moves out. Gives him a little bit of time to just warp in another round of units. Has even an observer now going across the map, getting some more information. We'll probably use it as a stationary observer to see what's going on at his ramp. And looking now at his natural, we just see that he's really focusing on his economy now, producing a lot of probes, trying to get a good saturation, not only at the natural but also in the main base. Even has a bit of a drop, repel force over here. We have one cannon, and the cannon is dedicated to deal with Widow Mines. A lot of Protoss players and also Zergs had to deal with Widow Mine drops in the recent past. So what ToD tries to do here is have some static defense in his main base, have the photon cannon here as a detector, and the two stalkers will actually help taking down the medevac right away, or then deal with the Widow Mines if he wasn't able to do that early on. This is also the reason why we have this observer over here. He wants to see when there is going to be a medevac heading out. Also, once again, we have here the pylon being produced. Also really important, going for another pylon that helps him to scout a little bit, to know what exactly is going on here. And you can really see that ToD is just prepared for everything. He has a very good vision on the map, but Dayshi so far, he goes into a mech strategy. He's not going for any kind of Widow Mine drops in this situation. No, he is just going for a very, very solid force. He has a very good defense here with the Widow Mines at the front, in front of the bunker. He has those extra siege tanks. We have him with the Raven in the game as well, already preparing, getting all this energy that he needs for the late game. And the Widow Mine here with, getting a first shot off, now being removed here. The Widow Mine is designed to deal with oracles. This Widow Mine in particular, the Widow Mines that we had in the main bases. Oracle openings are still something that Protoss players will occasionally throw against the Terran player, and if you don't have any anti-air at all, then you are really screwed. You will lose so many harvesters. ToD therefore places or has to deal with Widow Mines in the main base and at the front of his opponent's base. So both players here with a very good defense, but Dayshi decides that it's time to move out. He at the 11-minute mark, he has a strong force here. He's even pulling a few of his SCVs to repair. The Raven already has the energy. He can use the Seeker missile. He can use the especially the point defense drone, and that's something that we might see in just a second. ToD already trying to set his defense up. Here comes the forward scout by Dayshi. The Widow Mine's not borrowed just yet. We have the Hellions here with Blue Flame moving in. ToD with the photon overcharge on the Nexus. The High Templars that he has here don't have Storm just yet. And here we see ToD moving in. Has still the Mothership Core available with his army. And an Archon hallucinated here as well to tank a few shots. Trying to do his best. Even sending another round of Zealots in. The Widow Mine's already in cooldown. And the photon overcharge. The Nexus Cannon doing so much against these Hellions. And also against the Siege Tanks. Dayshi in a really good position though with a 20 supply surplus over ToD, trying to move in here. The Archon now, this time for real, is really beefy and can tank a few shots, but ToD is still under siege and has to be careful here. Nice contain so far by Dayshi, who goes into additional factories now at home, trying to get additional upgrades as well. He wants to have the upgrade advantage over his opponent, which is going to be tricky as ToD is already on one armor upgrade, researching the second one as we speak. Has the observer here, knows exactly what's going on, and warps in unit after unit, now finally deciding to move in with the additional immortal that he already has, targeting down those siege tanks. The Archon leading the charge, and ToD is able to break through here. He has the observer, they scout the Widow Mines, and he takes them down one by one, warps in another round of gateway units, and chases Dayshi back. Really nice exchange for ToD here, and very important for him to break out. Dayshi was already starting to produce his third command center in his own main base, and if he is able to just contain ToD for a long time, then ToD would fall back in economy, would not be able to take a third base on his own, and this would grant Dayshi the win. So he knew he had to move out here, takes his own third base now, and tries to go for a little bit of counter-aggression, while at the same time going into the first attack upgrade now that he has +2 armor, and he's also adding the Dark Shrine, as you can see. Dark Shrine in the main base is something that he wants to use to put a bit of aggression on his opponent, harass his economy, warp a few DTs in there, and still ToD with a perfect vision on the map. He has pylons blocking the third base of his opponent, he has pylons to the left and to the top, making sure that he knows exactly when there's a drop headed his way, another pylon being placed at the right side of the map. He's spending quite a few minerals to make this happen, but he will be very safe. And these minerals that he's investing here, they will definitely be worth it. If he knows that a drop is coming, he can warp in units in time to intercept it, he can warp in High Templars, might put them into position to get the feedback off right away, might just get a few of the Stalkers in there. So a very smart play here by ToD. And for Dayshi, this means that he has to be very careful how he approaches this. But in this game in particular, we have Dayshi not going for bio. So drops is not really going to be this much of a problem for ToD. You can of course also go for a few Halberd drops, you can go for Widowmine drops. It's definitely a threat, but usually a meching player will not drop as much as a player who decides to go into a bio play, into bio style. ToD at this point has definitely the advantage when it comes down to the upgrades. We have only Blue Flame and the +1 attack upgrade here for the Mech Force for our Terran player from France, and the Protoss is already on +1 attack, +2 armor. We have him with charge for his Zealots, gives him quite a nice boost here, and Dayshi is therefore a little bit ahead in the upgrades. This is the one advantage that he really has. He didn't just tech as hard as ToD did, didn't invest this much into upgrades, and therefore he has a few additional units. You can see the army supply here, 94 against 70 in favor of Dayshi. The Terran player now going into the second attack upgrade, also researching the upgrade so that he can transition with his Hellions into Hellbats. It's already done. He's moving out once again. He has a strong force here. This is a 30 supply plus for Dayshi, and ToD has to be very careful, especially Blue Flame does a lot of damage against light armored units, against the Zealots. Those Hellions will be very effective against the ground force of ToD, and with the support of the siege tank, this is not an easy battle. The Warp Prism in the main base, this is perfect for ToD though. He opens up a flank against his opponent, has even DTs in there. Dayshi reacts immediately, pulling all these units back, but he needs to take these guys down. He needs to take them on, he needs to scan. Now finally we have a little bit of a detection here, but is it going to be enough? At the same time, at the bottom we have the fight happening. Oh, big blunder here. All those, the Hellbats were blocked already, and ToD is just marching through this army. Hellbats didn't really get the shots off that they wanted, and ToD is able to crush this force while still harassing the main base of Dayshi. Workers lost, not a single one for ToD. Dayshi wasn't able to take down a single probe. ToD on the other hand, he killed 12 SCVs. The Harvester count is now 69 to 60 in favor of the French Protoss player. Going into a fourth base, taking base number 4, saturating it as we speak, establishing a cannon, a photon cannon to make sure that he's safe here, and once again the warp in to the top left. Here comes the scan, the Warp Prism being attacked by the Widow Mines. Still the Dark Templar is being scouted here. ToD doesn't move it outside the range of the scan, loses it therefore, but still is able to keep Dayshi in his main base. And the Warp Prism is still alive. He warps in another set of charged Zealots. And this is really difficult now for Dayshi to deal with. He's going into Thor's. He wants to take down this Warp Prism, and he needs to. Even now Drilling Claws being researched for Dayshi, he is once again the one in the supply lead, and those Widow Mines at the front, they still give ToD a little bit of a tough time. He needs to be very careful. He needs to have a scout here. So far it doesn't look like he will be able to detect those guys, and there is another attack. Bam! Shots going off, the Observer is there just in time, but in the end ToD getting a few additional hits on his units because he was not there before the cooldown was ready. And of course the Drilling Claws will help the Terran player quite a lot with this Widow Mine play. We have Tempest on the other hand for ToD. With a 4-base economy, he's now very, very confident in being able to get those Tempests out. He has the gas, he's getting the additional simulators now at his 4th base, getting the 7th and the 8th simulator, getting a lot of gas income. And Dayshi is currently only on 3 bases. He's really trying to make himself win this game by getting a strong army out and having the better army composition. 95 army supply for him against 60. ToD quite behind in this regard, but he definitely has the better upgrades. Plus 2 armor, plus 1 attack, plus 1 shields now. And he also is going now into a composition that will be tough to beat for Dayshi. Dayshi does have anti-air, but does he have enough? That's the big question. We have him with 5 Vikings so far, and he's getting 3 at a time. When he realized what was happening here, he immediately started to build additional starports. But ToD is already prepared to go into another harass play. He wants to go in with a War Prism, wants to make sure that Dayshi is occupied to the top left. This will buy him time to get the additional upgrades, get the +1 attack upgrade for his air units, especially of course for the Tempest, and the +2 shield upgrade, which benefits not only the air units, but also of course the ground units. The War Prism gets taken out by the missile turret. The Vikings would have been there in either way. But now we have another force in the main base. Another hit squad trying to take out a few SCVs and just focusing the attention of Dayshi to the top left, which so far he was quite successful in doing. Another base also being built now for the Terran player. And for Dayshi it's important to make sure that he's going to win the air battle. He's getting more and more Vikings. Those Tempests will be very tough to deal with if he doesn't have any Vikings anymore. So ToD has now an army with which he can take down the entire mech strategy of Dayshi. He can completely take it apart if Dayshi does not deal properly with those Immortals. He has to be very careful that the Archons don't get close enough to the clustered up Vikings, because if this happens, then they will be destroyed within seconds, and the Tempests alone will be able to deal with the siege tanks, will be able to deal with the Thors and everything else. But this is a massive army for Dayshi. 133 supply against 120 army supply, of course that is. Both of them are now about to be maxed out, and you can really see that this is going to be a tough battle for ToD. It's not going to be easy. He's on 4 bases, he has the better economy, but can he stop this army? The Tempest already trying to zone out his opponent's forces, taking down those Vikings. The Vikings starting to focus. Here come the Drilling Claws in action. The Widowmines getting their shots off, and ToD is dropping in supply, and he's dropping fast. But we don't have a lot of Vikings left for Dayshi. He's trying to take down those Tempests, but as you can see, it's really going to be a tough problem for him. He's losing way too many Vikings, and there's still Tempests left. The last Viking is already gone, and now the only anti-air is the Thor, and of course these Widowmines. But if he focuses well, ToD that is, then he can take down all those tanks. We even have a few Immortals left that are trying to just focus the tanks down. They have to retreat here, are way too low in hit points. But Dayshi lost also quite a bit, and he needs to do damage now. He's trying to move down, take the space apart, but he hesitates a little bit, setting up the siege tanks now, and this gives the Protoss player time to focus down tank after tank, even moving in with a few additional zealots now that he has the round of warp-ins ready. The cooldown is gone, he warps in these units and takes down the siege tanks, and Dayshi squanders a chance where he could have taken down a base. He wanted too much. He wanted to contain ToD here, to go into a position where he can take down all the units that he was building. He could have moved into the 4th, taken down the base before his tanks were taken out, but it was not possible for him anymore. Dayshi losing quite a lot here. He lost 24,000 resources against roughly 20,000 for ToD. This could have been better for the Terran player. ToD now still with all those Tempests, and they are the biggest problems for Dayshi. He's still going into Vikings. He wants to deal with them, and he has to. If you are up against the mech composition and you have Tempests in your own army, you have the perfect tool to zone out the Terran army and to take it down. And Dayshi knows this, so he has to deal with them somehow. But they already have 2 shield upgrades. They have the first attack upgrade, and if the Tempests are able to survive, then the mech army is not gonna be happy about it. Once again, Dark Templars being used here. The 4th, this is what Dayshi tries to establish himself now, but ToD knows that if he can take it down, then he will be in such a huge lead. He's already taking his 5th base, while Dayshi doesn't even mine properly from his 4th. He doesn't even have those refineries over here. And now ToD is trying to use the high ground to his advantage. He has a 50 supply lead over his opponent, but Dayshi is still in a position where he can make this happen. He's now commanding 10 Vikings, and with good zoning, with good focused firing, he might be able to pull something off here. The Widowmines, of course, also an issue. If ToD is a little bit too overzealous and moves into the Widowmines, he might lose too much here. Another force to the top of the map could be used for an additional run-by, but this is also something that Dayshi tries to pull off. He's going into the blue flame run-bys right now, trying to go into the economy. He finds the Eco Slide. He finds the Eco Slide, and he also sees that the base here is only defended by one cannon. He's immediately moving in, trying to take down as many harvesters as possible. ToD, though, with a run by into the third of his opponent, trying to take down the orbital command here, while at the same time he's executing damage at the fourth base. The orbital is still being attacked to the top, but now Dayshi defending with Widow Mines and also trying to pull this off with the siege tanks. The two Archons, they might be able to do something here, but no, Dayshi is ready and he repairs the orbital command right away. But ToD is not done just yet. He's moving in once again, trying to use those tempests. They have an insane range, 15 in total, taking down siege tanks, taking them down one by one and going for the orbital. He wants to make sure that he is the one with a better economy, that in the long run he will have the better position in the game. Another siege tank bites the dust and ToD warps in units to the top, trying to run into the third once more. Harvester killed over the course of this game, 50 by ToD and only 11 for Dayshi. These run-bys and warp-ins really make the Terran player bleed here. He's starving for money at this point. The mules, of course, really important, but he can't even save his fourth base. It's been taken down by all those Tempests. Still a fourth orbital command ready, but this is looking quite grim now for the Terran player. ToD is in a good position. 5 mining bases. He has 72 harvesters against 46, and this of course also means that the army supply is a little bit more even than you would imagine. Given this huge difference in overall supply. ToD is now currently looking at 124, whereas Dayshi has 100 army supply at his disposal. And ToD, he is really trying to make this work. He's going into the 6th base right now. He's going into +2 air weapons. He's going into the shield upgrade number 3, even adding Psionic Storm now with the Templar Archive. And this is of course the perfect army that he's going for. He wants to have this composition that Dayshi will never be able to beat, and it's already being really tough for the Terran player to make this work, but he's still not giving up. And why would he? He has a lot of siege tanks here, he has Ravens that he can use, and with the mules he can make up for the difference in the worker supply. If Dayshi is able to max out his overall supply, then he will have the better army supply. This is something that ToD is aware of, and he has to be careful that he does not fall victim to it. We have a double Stargate production for him now, as ToD realizes that now, being maxed out, he needs more production. He's building up a bank, and if he wants to use it later on, he has to make more production facilities. Once again, the range of the Tempest, it's important here. It's what gives him this edge over his opponent, and he's taking down tank after tank. The Widow Mine's not in range just yet, but the Tempests, they are moving in, taking down the first Tempest, taking down the second. The Ravens are being taken out here, but ToD has to be careful. He's losing a little bit too much. The Tempests are really expensive. But he has another run by over here, trying to force this orbital to lift, and he's succeeding, taking out SCVs as we speak. Dayshi, I don't want to say he's falling apart, but he's still in a position where he is just troubled on so many places at the same time that it's difficult for him to deal with. It's a very difficult situation to handle. We have him now with such a low SCV count, 30 against 42, that with a maxed out supply, he could really give ToD a lot of trouble. But he needs to make sure that with the next attack, he's doing a lot of damage, because he just does not have the economy that ToD is having right now. ToD is already building up this mineral bank, and Dayshi is starving for gas. This is the one problem that he really had. This is why these two guys over here, these refineries, are so important for him. ToD takes a 7th base. He is controlling the entire map, but Dayshi now, with a massive army, with 156 army supply, is way ahead of the army supply of his opponent, is moving in. Here comes the point defense shown, really crucial for this fight, but we have storms for Dayshi against the mech composition. ToD is dropping his supply like crazy though. He's losing way too much here. The Widow Mines once again moving forward, trying to burrow here and trying to use those drilling claws, but a few of them are still in cooldown. And once again, the entire army on the low ground is already gone. The only thing that ToD has are those Tempests. The Tempests are trying to zone out the Thors, and so far they are doing a good job. The problem for Dayshi really being his anti-air. He's taking down a Tempest at a time, but he doesn't have Vikings anymore. Resources lost, 40,000 nearly for Dayshi and 30,000 for ToD, definitely playing the more cost-efficient game. Those Widow Mines could, if they are a little bit faster, really give those Tempests trouble though. They are moving in, using the drilling claws, and those Tempests, yeah, they will go down. A lot of them already dead and gone. Another one biting the dust here. Dayshi is losing more supply though, as ToD warps units into his main base, as we had this battle over here in the middle of the map. The Protoss player takes those siege tanks apart, Dayshi seems to be... He seems to be just overwhelmed by what's happening here. It's too much that's going on. ToD has this bank that he can use for the warp-ins, and he's making it happen again. Warping in Dark Templars, forcing scans, and Zealots as well. So this is a really tough force. Now the Widow Mine's trying to be used here as a defensive measure. He's making this work, but the problem really being that ToD has so many bases, and Dayshi's only hope was to take down the entire army of ToD and then moving forward into the heart of the Protoss player space, taking down the economy, taking down the income. ToD lost so much in the last few fights, but it was not enough for Dayshi to take control of this game. He is still down in supply, by now nearly 80 supply more for ToD. He's doubling the supply of his opponent and is going into the third attack upgrade. His upgrades are just so much better, as you can see. +2 attack, +2 armor, +3 shields, and what does Dayshi have? He has 2-2 on his mech composition. Actually, not even that's true. He has only 1 armor upgrade, only the second attack upgrade for his air units, which he can't even use anymore here. The unit composition for ToD is so much better. Widow Mines in the middle of the map, not doing too much. Run-bys everywhere, giving ToD time to build his army once more. We have him with his Tempests here, 6 in total, going into Void Rays right now. The Ruffle Rays joining the battle, while the Zealots are definitely controlling the low ground. 23 of them with nearly maxed out upgrades. This is a crazy force for ToD, and Dayshi, he's desperate. He's trying to hold this base. He's trying to make it happen somehow, but he also has to deal with those units that sneak into his main base over and over again. It's really difficult for him to hold this off, and ToD just isn't done. He is always going for another round of warp-ins. A few units to the fourth, a few units to the third, a DT in the main base. Dayshi doesn't seem to be able to deal with this, and ToD now suddenly commands 115 army supply against 78. He is still on 7 bases. Yes, those Widow Mines in the middle of the map, they can take down the occasional Zealot, but in the end, that's not where they have to be, and now they are being attacked while they try to move back to the main base. Dayshi is losing too much here. He is at 100 supply against 200. ToD is preparing himself for the final blow. He's preparing himself for the death blow. He wants to take his opponent down right now. He wants to end this. He wants to claim victory here on Akilon Flats in this game. The French duel. So far it really looks like ToD will be the victor. His DT is still going strong in the main base. And this fourth is the only source of income that Dayshi currently has. He's trying to set out a defense where ToD might just kill himself, but with all those Tempests, I just don't see it happening. The Viking count is at 1, only 2 Thors. The anti-air is not there. It just doesn't exist. It's non-existent here. We have him now moving in, and this is such a fierce force that I don't feel Dayshi can take this down. He's trying though. He's definitely trying, but he realizes this is not gonna happen. GG, as the Terran player finally realizes that this game is not gonna end in his favor. ToD, the French player, the French Protoss player, he wins the game. Really back and forth action that we had. Dayshi is several times with more army supply trying to go in, and then ToD able to just throw him back. And in a lot of those fights, if Dayshi has a few more Vikings and can take down those Tempests, suddenly the siege tanks won't be this vulnerable anymore and can do the damage. Remember this one situation that we had over here. Yes, there were a few Tempests, and yeah, they were taking down the siege tanks, but if Dayshi would have just moved down to the 4th base, taken down this base, ToD would have missed a lot of his income that he had in the end, and would maybe have given Dayshi a chance to get into this game and to take command. Take just control of the match. Dayshi decided to siege up his tanks right over here on the plateau, trying to control the production a little bit, do damage to the production structures, but it was just not enough. ToD was able to clean them up, and then he had the better economy and could use it. Great game, really entertaining, a nice Terran versus Protoss that we had. I hope that you enjoyed the match and the commentary. If you did, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel at Khaldor TV, and also give the video a thumbs up. We'll have a few more videos in the near future, and yeah, just check the channel and check the feed, and I will still try to upload 1 video per day, so definitely make sure that you pay attention to it. See you guys next time. Bye bye.